You have arrived to the Plunge Into Prosperity podcast, where sacred wisdom meets regenerative wealth. I'm your host, Brandi Kolosky of Sacral Capital. Now let's plunge in. Welcome back to Plunge Into Prosperity, episode 19. I'm Brandi Kolosky, your host and GP of Sacral Capital, Sacral Fund, and Sacral Sisters. My guest today has been called Pure Gold Leadership. She is a multi-award winning CEO, a 2-time Stevie International Business Award winner, a 2-time TEDx speaker, a 6-time international best-selling author, a university professor with a Ph.D. in clinical psychology, and a U.S. Senator for the World Business Angels Investment Forum. She is the Chairwoman, CEO, and founder of LeadHERship Global, a worldwide community of unstoppable women, and the president of CurvUp. Linda Fisk, welcome to Plunge Into Prosperity.
I'm so excited to be here with you, Brandi. Thank you so much for the invitation. And thank you so much for sharing this incredible platform with so many incredible listeners, women that, are trailblazers, pioneers. They are the leaders that listen to your show are creating incredible change in their communities and their businesses.
Thank you. It started off at first as a roadshow of events with women, and I was like, how do we reach more women? And you and I connected because I was reaching out to leaders in space just as yourself, and it's an honor to have you on because you're someone that I definitely will continue looking up to and hopefully seeking some guidance anytime in the future. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. As I said, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited for our conversation today.
Awesome. So for those that are new here, Linda, tell them why they should continue listening to this particular episode of Plunge Into Prosperity.
Well, I will tell you that a big part of what we're going to talk about today, I think, is about real life stories of tragedy to triumph and turning your pain into your passion and really understanding some of the peaks and valleys in the entrepreneurial journey. There are very few people that can say that they've had a very easy straight line to success. Most of the time, there are twists and turns, there are curves, and it's important for us to tell real stories about what has created success and some of the learning lessons that we've experienced along the way.
That's why you're here. This is all why you're here. And how did you first discover your own personal definition of what true prosperity means to you? How are you actively embodying it today and stewarding that vision with life and work?
I love that question, Brandi. I will tell you, looking back now, I can see that the challenges that I faced throughout my career have been the launch pad for my biggest successes, teaching me the power of perseverance, tenacity, steadfastness, but combining that with forgiveness, kindness, and grace. And honestly, that is the key to success. In fact, all of the happiest and most successful people that I've been able to work with over the years had one thing in common. They found a way to contribute value to the world, and they were all well rewarded for their efforts. So think about that for a minute. The seeds of your prosperity are tucked away in a very surprising place.
Yes,
your greatest interests and your greatest passions. And of course, simply following your passions isn't enough. You have to find a way to make your passions pay forward. That means finding a way to use your interests and talents to contribute to value in the world. And this can be done in a couple different ways. What I've learned is when you find what you love, you also find your path to prosperity. In order to have an abundant life, you need to figure out what it is that you love doing. Many times we try to do something that other people do simply because they're successful. But the more that you align with what you really love doing, the more abundance you actually attract in your life. And I also say that the second secret to having a truly prosperous and abundant life is to appreciate what you have right now. A very simple step to identifying your personal passion pursuits is to start recognizing what you love in your life right now. So take the time to appreciate what you have in your life. Maybe it's health. Maybe it's the people that surround you. Maybe it's your colleagues. Maybe it's new skills you're learning or the simple beauty of nature around you. But you will find yourself realizing how abundant your life is and that what you need is actually right there in front of you.
It is. This morning, I was going through all of that. I always ground and meditate in the morning, and I always go under this particular tree. I'll have to send you the photo of the flowers. They're quite unique, and that's it. And today was different. Even when I was making breakfast this morning, I was like, I'm grateful that my refrigerator is full. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just the simplest thing. I switched between different apps from Sadhguru to Insight Timer to Open is a new one. And yeah, they definitely help start the day that way. And when you do, it just sets the tone for the rest of the day. Inside of your journey, what was one particular like bold plunge or gut decision where everything completely changed the trajectory of your different paths? Like, or if you want to choose one.
Yeah, I would say that um, probably recognizing that abundance doesn't happen overnight. Most people who live an abundant, prosperous life will tell you that honestly, they work at it every single day. On a daily basis, they're
Yes.
accomplishing really small actions
Yes.
that align them with what they want in their life. So if what you want is more money, every day you can make small deposits in a savings account.
Mhm.
$5 a day becomes $150 at the end of the month and nearly $2,000 at the end of the year. If, on
Mhm.
the other hand, you want more love in your life, well, then you can start with self love.
Yes.
Every day, make a point of recognizing one thing about yourself that
Yeah.
you absolutely love. Because
Mhm.
I have learned that one of the most common misperceptions about prosperity and wealth is that achieving some sort of monetary goal will make you happy.
Mhm.
And what I've learned is happiness is a decision.
Yes.
Happiness is a state of mind. And I'm sure, Brandy, that you can recall wealthy people who are unhappy with their lives. In fact, just off the top of your head, you could probably recite the names of at least a half a dozen celebrities who are constantly struggling with addiction or relationship
Yeah.
turmoil or maybe legal problems and more. Money didn't make these people happy. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah, I know I dated, Stephen Witkoff's son. So I knew what was going on inside of there. And my boyfriend at the time, he wasn't happy. Yeah. Mhm.
So money
There's
didn't
a
make
lot of
these people
pressure.
happy, and it doesn't make anyone happy either. If you want to be happy, then you have to decide to be
Mhm.
happy now, regardless of your problems,
Mhm.
regardless of your challenges. And having a ton of money in the bank won't make the problems go away. The
Mhm.
greatest power that you can ever develop is the power to focus on the good so
Mhm.
that you can be happy right now, no matter what else is
Yep.
happening around you, because right now is all you have.
Exactly. No, my grandmother put me in meditation school when I was 15. So I've been preaching this to the choirs for a long time. So it's great. I feel like you're a mirror of me in the future. And I don't even need to speak.
That's so
So
funny.
you're doing so right. So take us inside Lead Her Ship Global in plain terms. Like, what does it actually do for women in it? What gap were you trying to close when you built it?
Yeah, thank you so much. So,
Mhm.
LeadHERship Global is where women of extraordinary accomplishment actually come together for growth that really transcends titles. It's a private, curated community that's committed to three things: purpose, profit, and personal legacy. So, we don't just promise access to board positions, access to stages, access to media. We actually promise transformation. At
Yes.
LeadHERship Global, every single aspect of our membership is designed to elevate your leadership, expand your visibility, accelerate your business success, and ensure that you never lead alone. So we transform women in leadership from the inside out, not with formulas, but with real frameworks, not
Yes.
with hustle, but
Yes.
with alignment. Because
Yes.
in my mind, the world doesn't need more busy women. It
No.
needs more values driven leaders that are
Yes.
recognized and that are remembered. So
Yes.
we're here to help women become recognized and remembered.
That is beautiful. I definitely have been leaning more into what we call the feminine because when I started leaning more into my feminine and removed the hustle, the masculine part, I actually started aligning better, the right humans in my life, especially women. I have been working with a healer on trust with men, trust with money, trust with men and money because of the different lineages and that experience. And as I was healing that, I was bringing forth more of my feminine and more women like yourself when I would reach out, they were in full alignment. I haven't had one reach out since I've been reaching out to you and other women that wasn't aligned.
Right.
So, it's a calling, it's your energy shifts, what you're attracting, and wholeheartedly believe that. And so you said
Love that.
also the real power shows up when leaders come together against a shared challenge.
Yeah.
What changes for a woman the moment she stops leading alone?
Yeah, I would say that women are naturally created for community.
Mhm.
We receive strength, perseverance, tenacity through the support of other women. And I tell you, LeadHERship Global isn't just another network, it's a trusted circle of
Mhm.
women leaders. These are founders, executives, entrepreneurs, visionary. But I think they all share one core belief that success is more than just status.
Yeah.
Leadership is about impact. And
Mhm.
here you're going to find the kind of high caliber relationships, the kind of expert insights, the kind of personalized support that every single woman needs to elevate every dimension of her own leadership journey. And I will tell you, you need to be very purposeful and intentional with the relationships that you're cultivating and fostering.
Yes.
Because if you surround yourself with women that look like where you want to be in
Mhm.
5 years, it's going to make that path that much easier.
Right.
If you surround yourself with women who have been through the trenches, who have gone through those deep valleys, who have had those times of doubt and those times of crisis and trial, and yet been able to persevere to climb the highest mountains. Those are the women that you want to surround yourself with because they're going to lift you up. They're going to support you. They're going to cheer you on. They're
Mm.
going to guide you. They're going to provide true counsel. They're going
Mhm.
to share their lived experience so that you don't have to repeat the same mistakes they made. And
Yeah.
that is your power tribe. That
Yeah.
is the group of women around you that not only embody what your definition of success looks like, but they've been where you are and they can help you guide the path to the summit.
Agree, agree. I also am very big on due diligence of humans.
Yes.
So, I I no longer have to do it as much anymore, maybe once every couple years, but it's cleaning up the house as well, or even I this wasn't women, but it was men. I was gonna go into business with some men, some investment projects, and within 90 days, if you're gonna work with someone or marry someone, whatever. And so, yeah, within 90 days, you find out. So then, yeah, due diligence is big for me. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. And I think that women thrive with a very close, intimate circle of women around them that they truly trust and that
Yes,
are deeply invested in their
yes,
success
yes,
because they care about their well-being. Now,
yeah.
listen, being a part of vast networks matters, and being a part of several networks really matters.
Mhm. Yeah,
But it's having that close, kind of sacred circle of women that you deeply trust that can be really transformational for other women.
agree. And was there a point in your C-suite years that made building this feel personal, like something you decided no other woman should have to do without?
Yeah, I will say that, I was one of, I would say, the rare exceptions of women that was able to move fairly quickly up the corporate ladder in my career to achieve a C suite position as chief marketing officer for the largest leadership organization in the world, the chief executive officer for one of the most well respected leadership organizations in the world.
Mhm.
I was able to serve in these leadership organizations in the C suite and really learn sort of the dynamics of leadership, the dynamics of a very, very high performing team in both situations. But along the way, what I also became more and more aware of is that my story is more unique than I realized. Most
Mhm.
women feel sidelined. They feel marginalized. They feel shut out. There are all kinds of intentional and unintentional biases that women typically face in their career in the pursuit of those C suite positions. And around the world, women face cultural, political, and socioeconomic barriers, roadblocks, obstacles that men typically don't. And I think over time, the more aware that I became that women really do fight a much tougher fight. And I think that they face much bigger hurdles than men do. I really began realizing that my very privileged position as CMO, Chief Marketing Officer,
Mhm.
and CEO, Chief Executive Officer, was more of a rare story than a common story. So
Mhm.
I began really looking into that. And I realized around the world, women don't have equal access to education. There are
Mhm.
places in the world where women can't own property.
Mhm.
Women are not allowed to drive a car.
Mhm.
Women are not allowed to have a job outside the home.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to have access to any kind of funding or loans without a cosigner of a male relative or a male
Mhm.
that is going to vouch for them. There are women around the world that can't get access to housing, that still don't have decision rights over their own bodies.
Mhm.
And so, based on that, I really thought I want to fight for the women around the world that are not only facing these kinds of real significant hurdles, but also even here in very, very, um, I would say, forward-thinking countries,
Mhm.
countries that, do, uh, pride themselves on having a sense of equality. You know, women still make up less than 10% of all board seats.
I know.
Women,
That
take less than 10% of all speaking opportunities on stages. Women represent less than 5% of all media interviews. Women receive
that's
less than 2% of venture capital
well, it's
funding.
now down it just dropped down to 1.1%.
Yes.
That statistic, I just had to do some re-ups on my presentations and the research, and it dropped from 2.3 to 1.1 in the past 6 months.
Yeah,
And
amazing.
it's horrible. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So that brings me into, capital and access. You are or were a US Senator for World Business Angels Investment Forum? Are you still?
That's right. And
Are you
World
still?
Business yes,
Okay.
and World Business Angels Forum is one of the ways that we are trying to, level the playing field to ensure that women get equal access to funding. And I would also say that, you know, the new venture that I'm a part of, serving as president of CurvUp, is absolutely committed to ensure that women receive equal access to funding. And on the CurvUp platform, they make every single entrepreneur that's active on the program investor ready. They help you become investor ready. And then they have a pool of more than $150 million that they have earmarked
Amazing.
for entrepreneurs to have access to funding regardless of gender.
Yeah.
They make sure that women specifically are given the tools, the resources, the coaching, the mentorship to be truly investor ready. And then they have equal access to that pool of funds, the $150 million
Yeah.
of investor funding on the CurvUp platform. And so I feel
Yeah.
very, very lucky to be able to serve as president of that
Yeah.
organization and to be able to very demonstrably, very measurably
Yes.
impact women in leadership through investor funding.
Thank you for sharing those details. It's so wild how what you're building and representing over there is very similar to Sacral Capital, Sacral Sisters. I created Sacral Sisters as a investment community because women didn't realize that they could go into private markets and invest in other women-led businesses as an SPV and go onto a cap table of a fund. I'm educating these women on how they're able to do that, and some of these women not only are investors, but they're building businesses and they need help preparing themselves to raise money as well. So I then act as their growth advisor and help them prepare
That's
their
right.
data rooms and help them prepare how to pitch. And it's also mindset. So mindset money marketing is what I like to call it. And it working with their mindset and making sure that they are going in with, not having fear of what they've built and being secure in their voice and their messaging. And so this I definitely am excited to get introduced to what you have going on there and see how we can cross collaborate for
Yeah,
sure. So
absolutely.
yeah, getting more capital into the hands of women is definitely one of the missions of mine for sure. Yeah. And so before any of this, you earned a PhD in clinical psychology, which I also wanted to go to school to be a psychologist, a brain surgeon, heart surgeon, marine biologist, astronomer, and dance choreographer. So I stuck with business and marketing. Yeah, I wanted to be but I've been able to work in all of those industries except robotics and live animals, using business and marketing as my minors and majors, and I just love being able to put my hands in all types of different industries. And with venture capital, private equity, you can. And so before this, so you earned your PhD in clinical psychology, and then you studied social comparison and well-being. Almost all leadership advice ignores the inner game entirely. What does the science actually say about why so many high achieving women still feel like they're behind?
Yes. I will tell you that study after study over the decades has indicated and reaffirmed that unfortunately women typically have much lower levels of confidence than men do across every single category, whether it's physical ability, intellectual capability, emotional security, anything, even something as uh, unimportant as physical beauty. Women rate themselves lower than men rate themselves. And women tend to rate themselves lower than their objective ability. So if you were to say to someone, how well do you think you're going to do on this capabilities test? They would judge their ability lower than their actual ability. And so, what that tells us is that women really struggle with confidence, and confidence is the number one predictor of future success. So, the one, I guess, recommendation I would make to all women is really be conscious of any kind of negative self talk that you allow to happen inside your head. Be aware
Mhm.
of the negative self talk. Be aware of how you are judging your ability, how you're judging your ability to not only perform across a myriad of tasks and responsibilities and obligations in your daily life, but your ability to actually step into the spotlight and
Mhm.
own your power and lead from a place of purpose. What I find is that confidence is literally linked to every single metric of success and happiness.
Mhm.
And it is the number one predictor of future success. So
Mhm.
if you do not really cultivate that sense of self worth, that sense of self value, and that sense of self confidence, then you're already starting 10 paces behind your peers.
Mhm.
So you really have to think carefully about your capability to grow. Listen, nobody starts any task, any skill, any job knowing everything there is to know. There's
Yeah.
no way you could do that. If I want to learn how to play tennis, when I first hit that court, I'm going to be terrible. But
Okay.
the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, I'm going to see improvement. Now, am
Mhm.
I going to be ready to hit
Play
the
the
court
Wimbledon.
against Venus Williams? No, of course not. And that's unrealistic. But what you can do is focus on your ability to grow. Focus on your ability to learn, focus on your ability to advance and get better. And when you have that kind of growth mindset,
Mhm.
then you know that there's nothing that you don't have the capability of learning,
Mhm.
growing, advancing, improving in terms of skill or craft or talent. There's absolutely nothing that you don't have the ability to improve on. So accept the fact that yes, you're going to fail and you're going to have missteps and you're going to have all kinds of issues and problems along the way. But it's your ability to overcome those things. Your ability to advance, to grow, to
Mhm.
get better that actually really matters. And that is the seed of confidence for everyone
Yeah.
to know that, okay, when I started out, I wasn't great. But, 6 months in, I had improved so much. A year, I had a wicked backhand. 2 years, I could step on the court in any foursome. So that's really saying something. And I think that that's what we have to focus on is not how well we do in the moment, but how much we're able to learn and grow through perseverance and with dedication.
I love the saying, and it's kind of wrapping everything you just said into this one little phrase. A confident person is a prepared person, right? So as long as we continue to prepare and be persistent in our preparation and learn from what we're preparing, so your confidence does rise in that. The same being in I danced professionally for 21 years, and you know learning the dance routine with the team. We are preparing to go on stage because that, and then confidently, you know, perform it. So it's similar, you just kind of practice the routine over and over again and then get out on that stage. And you also learn to be a star in your own right, but then shine together with the team as well. So you have to
I
learn
love
that
that.
kind of balance too. And then just showing up and being respectful of everyone's time, being put together. We weren't allowed to say the word can't in dance school or else we
I
were
love
kicked
that.
out because there's no such thing. You're going to keep failing, falling on your knees, but you'll eventually learn the move, and yep, I wholeheartedly agree with everything that you're saying. I embody what you embody.
That's
And
great.
you've been speaking about skill fishing lately, I believe, the gap between the skills people claim and the skills they really have. There is that fine line. I One of my other podcasts, he's one of my advisors, his name is Markel. He had shared with me, and I also never really cared for the saying, "Fake it till you make it." Never
Yeah.
really cared for that one, but it was act as if. So if you continue acting as if you are the CEO, but really you're wearing a CEO hat, a CMO hat. You're wearing all the hats to build your business, but you're acting as if you're in those roles. You're not faking it. You're actively doing the work. Is this something similar what you're referring to as skill fishing, like where there's a fine line between those that are really faking it, and then those that are acting?
Yeah. So a couple things I would say is listen, when you're in an interviewing kind of situation, there's no one that hasn't uh really accented their successes, showcased their strengths, ensured that they were positioned and communicated in a way that showcased the fact that they could do the job that they were interviewing for. And in that, there's oftentimes where, you've heard it yourself and you see it on social, you see it in job interviews, you see it in even personal conversations where people are touting their performance, they're touting their wins, their successes, their accomplishments, their achievements. And while those things may be true, it's very easy to begin to exaggerate,
Mhm.
the skills that it took to accomplish a particular outcome, to impact a particular result. It's very easy to begin saying, I was responsible for,
Mhm.
without really recognizing that it might have been a team effort. There might have been 5 people, 10 people that were a part of that project that all contributed to the outcome. And yet it seems as though you were the sole provider of the result. You were the sole architect of the outcome, when in
Yeah.
fact it was a team environment. And listen, everyone, and you see it all over social, you see it even in conversations with others, people will absolutely showcase their successes, their wins, their accomplishments, their achievements. But when you start overreaching and suggesting that you have skills that you do not, you were responsible for particular projects that really you might have had a role to play, but you were not fully responsible. What that suggests is that you have skills, talents, experiences, and expertise that you have not really experienced yet. And so because of that, it falsely begins to suggest that you have a breadth and depth of experience that you don't. So
Mhm.
it's really important, I think, to ask as the hiring manager questions about the how. So people can talk about
Yeah.
results
That's one of my
and
favorite
achievements
words.
and outcomes, but if they haven't actually done the work, they will not be able to tell you how they did it,
Exactly.
step by step by step. So it's really important to dig into the process, the procedure, the strategy, the
Mm-hmm.
tactics behind an outcome to really understand if they were truly as responsible as they may present themselves to be.
Yes, agree. Another word of the how that is used that I train my team members to use is it's Oren Clough. He wrote a book called Pitch Anything. You know that one? I don't know if you know that one.
Yeah.
And because the amygdala and the crocodile brain and so forth, whenever you're wanting to figure out, like, get to a final solution of like someone's answer or commitment or so forth. It's how. The word is how. How likely are you to call me back? Or how likely are you to commit? How likely? How did you go about that process, right? Of closing that or solving or inventing, right? So I really do love the word how too. So
Yeah, and I love that you said inventing. So some of
yes,
that really is inventing in a job interview versus reporting. So
yes.
are you inventing your impact, your role, your expertise, your experience, or are you reporting those things?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that I whenever I am sharing past experiences, I go and I story tell it because that's going through the emotional, like where it all came from and the details and I because being also a woman, sadly, we kind of have to give those details to give it more validation. But I don't mind. I'm a performer. I've been on stage. I don't mind storytelling. And so, who took a chance on you early in your career, and what did it teach you about backing other people?
Yeah, I will tell you that I mean, again, throughout my career, I had incredible teachers, mentors, coaches, supervisors that showed me incredible grace. So, of course, in every career, you're going to have stumbles, you're going to have missteps, you're going to have spectacular failures. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that those are some of the very best learning moments too. And luckily, I had mentors, coaches, teachers, trainers, supervisors, bosses that really invested in my growth and my commitment
Mm-hmm.
to growing and always learning, always achieving, always learning. And one of my bosses at one time said, "You have to be ready when we pass the ball to you." And so what that meant was always be preparing, always
Mm-hmm.
be learning, always be mentoring, always be at a
Closing.
place where you are opening yourself up to not just critique, but lessons and
Yes.
learn by observation, learn how other people handle difficult situations, learn how they handle negotiations, learn how they handle hard questions, learn how they handle client interactions, really observe and make sure that you're investing in your own learning. Go to conferences,
Mm-hmm.
read papers, talk to mentors, hire a coach, really invest in your
Mm-hmm.
own development in leadership and whatever skill it is that you are cultivating in your career. So for me, it was advertising and marketing, right? That was my skill. And so I went to dozens of
Oh yeah.
marketing and advertising conferences and symposiums and summits, and I had coaches and I had mentors, and I was always learning and I was taking classes and I was getting all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of certification because I wanted within my chosen field, within my chosen specialty, I wanted to always be learning. And when my
Yes.
boss said, "You never know when someone's going to pass the ball to you, and you've
Yes.
got to make sure you're ready,"
Yeah.
I made sure at every meeting,
Yep.
at every presentation, in every situation, I was ready. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't demand the ball, but when the ball was passed to me, I was capable, I was competent,
Yep.
and I was ready.
Yeah. It goes back to the prepared, being prepared as a confident person. And then also when you are prepared, even if it might not be your role or it's particular, but people then start realizing they can lean on you and or trust that you are a beautiful backup plan, that you're there. And then that's what creates that ripple effect of referrals. and also readiness, preparedness to move up in your leadership role, right? So, yes,
Absolutely.
beautiful,
And I
beautiful.
would also say that it built my confidence, right? The
Yes.
more I prepared and the more that I was able to take those steps that when the ball was passed to me, I succeeded. So, confidence, as we said before, gives you the skills and coping methods to handle the setbacks, to handle the failure that you'll experience in your career. Self confidence doesn't mean you won't sometimes fail, but you'll
Hmm.
know you can handle the challenges and not be crippled by them. So even when things don't turn out anywhere close to what you planned, you'll be able to avoid beating yourself up about it.
Exact. Well, Linda, thank you for plunging in with us today. For everyone listening, you can find Linda and the LeadHERship Global community at leadhershipglobal.com and see what she's building at CurvUp.io. This has been Plunge into Prosperity, the official podcast of Sacral Capital and Sacral Sisters and Sacral Fun. If today something moved you, follow the show, share it with one woman who needs to hear it. We're building a community of women, not just me, but Linda too, who don't just dream about prosperity, they plunge into it. Linda, thank you so much for being here and providing your insight.
I loved being here with you, Brandy. Thank you so much for being such an incredible podcast host. This
You're
was
welcome.
really, really wonderful.
You're welcome. Until next time, everyone, keep plunging. Have a prosperous day. Thanks for plunging into sacred wisdom and regenerative wealth with us. If your soul and your portfolio just got a glow up, hit subscribe on YouTube, Amazon, Spotify, and Apple. Share it with your crew. Tag us on social and join the movement at plungeintoprosperity.com. I'm Brandi Kolosky. Catch you on the next plunge.